Okay. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so we're coming up. I mean, technically, we're still in spring. So maybe before we go into summer, we just talk just a little bit about spring issues for pets. All right. So for me, out here in the middle of the boonies, it's mating season. So coyotes have pups, deer have babies, bears have cubs, cougars have kits. And you know what? Them babies are hungry.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and even animals that you would not normally see during the daytime, you might see them during the daytime because they got babies to feed. All right. So that's just something to be aware of. We tend not to have, in fact, in the almost 6 years I have been here, I have literally seen one raccoon, maybe three squirrels.
That's it.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, coyotes got to eat, Kate.
Yeah, but usually you see a couple more than just three squirrels.
Yeah, three.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, and snakes are coming out that haven't been out. Bees are just starting to get active.
We've
Um,
got the snakes.
you guys got the snakes. Well, I mean, technically we've got snakes, but they're not venomous. We went to a wedding over the weekend, and where we were parking the car was grassy. Apparently, I stepped over a brown snake. Did not
You didn't
know.
know it?
No,
You're so lucky you don't have venomous snakes.
I am so lucky because I think part of it is you really have to realize um, your strengths and your weaknesses. And my weakness is not necessarily noticing my bubble around me, or I assume my bubble is okay. So yeah,
I'm just gonna smile and nod.
smile and nod on that one, Kay.
There you go.
Okay. Living in an area with venomous snakes might be problematic for me.
Well, there was a couple months ago, I went to the local tractor supply store here, and I was walking in, and there was two ladies that were sitting at a picnic bench area off to the side, and right in the middle of the walkway was a rattlesnake, and it was just curled up, just sitting there. And so I'm walking by, and I'm like, "Is that a snake?" And I'm looking at it, and sure enough, it was. And so I go walking in, and as I come walking out, they're still sitting on the bench, and I just kind of look at it, and I kind of walk around it, and I was like, "That's actually kind of funny. Like, here's this big old rattlesnake right in the middle. We're all just like, stay away from it, but we're not freaked out by it."
Oh yeah. Well, it's also knowing what the problems are in your area and having solutions for it. All
Right.
right. If I saw a rattlesnake in my backyard, I'm pretty sure I might have that complete meltdown. Which will bring us to a side tangent. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So knowing how your body responds in emergencies, that whole flight, fight, or freeze. I know personally that my initial reaction is to freeze.
Okay.
Okay. However, I think because I have put myself into so many situations, and I'm not talking dangerous situations. I'm talking situations in which it's scary, like speaking in front of people, putting myself out there. I've done that so much that that's not even a thing for me. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I think that's helped a lot with that. With my initial reaction is to freeze, but I get past it really quickly, and then my next response is to fight.
Okay. Which is good to know. And honestly, I think when we're talking about emergency plans and stuff, and if you're talking over and doing your emergency plans with your family, that is one aspect to really talk about and think about. because what responsibilities are we going to assign you, knowing in the moment you're going to freeze?
Yeah. So, and that's why first responders practice all the time, so that that whole fight, flight, or freeze is they can get over that really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, let's talk about the summer. Okay. So,
Looking forward to it.
what?
I'm not looking forward to it. Not out here.
Well, you're okay. So let's then start off with the one that's going to be probably the most problematic for you, and that's going to be heat.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
So how do you deal with the heat?
Stay in the air conditioner. Because it's not just heat. It is 120-degree heat.
Yeah.
And last year we broke records. I forgot, what was it? Like 100. I want to say it was like about over 70 days, over 120 or something. I don't know, something like that. But it was brutal. It was brutal, and it got to a point. It gets old. So like people that are in areas with the winter time and how winter gets old and you're just kind of cooped up for a really long time before spring starts to come, that's how it is out here for the summer, but just with the heat.
Okay. So I know in my emergency stash of water, I have regular water, but I also have electrolyte water.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, and that kind of heat, am I always drinking electrolyte water, or does it make a difference?
I don't drink just electrolyte water. I make sure that I always drink a lot of water. If I know that I'm going to be out there, because that's the thing too, with it being so hot, at least for me, you don't really sweat. So you don't feel, it's not like you're drenched, because we don't have the humidity. So like back in Chicago, you would be drenched, right? But out here, you don't really, it's hot, but you don't feel the moisture escaping out of your body. So I just drink water all the time, but no, I don't always drink electrolytes. It depends on how much you're going to be out there and what you're doing out there.
All right. Do you keep water in your car?
Sometimes, not all the time. I usually will bring my thermos with me and just keep that with me at all times. But to actually do extra water in plastic bottles in 120-degree weather, not necessarily.
All right, because I keep a case of water in my car. My temperatures out here are nowhere near what you get in Arizona. If we hit like upper 90s, everybody here's dying.
Well, you guys have the humidity though too.
Oh,
Oh, you don't?
I do not have humidity here.
Oh, I
Now,
would
this little pocket here of Squim, I don't know about like Port Angeles or stuff, but I love the fact that I've had zero humidity.
You're lucky then, because that's like perfect. No humidity and a little bit of heat. No, that's perfect.
All right, but the car is in the garage, and I always keep a case of water in there, and I do tend to rotate it. Last time I rotated was actually at the Tacoma show, so that I would have water for the booth we had. So I poured it out. Everybody drank it because it's not just bottled water. I go for the good stuff and get hint water, and then just replaced it when I got back home. Okay. But as far as heat is concerned, all right. So I know one of the things, Speedy was just sick over this past weekend. I'm always looking at gum color. So whether you're a person or you're a pet, the gums are going to present as bright red when you're in heat stroke. Is that the same for people, or is that just for pets?
No, I mean, there's a lot of similarities between people and pets.
Okay. So if I'm going to cool off a pet that's in heat stroke, all right. So the best way is to prevent heat stroke in the first place. Okay. So that's if you're in a grooming shop, keeping an eye on the pets, making sure, because you can reverse heat stroke if you catch it really quickly. Okay. So I'm going to wrap my dog in cool and just wet towels, and I'm going to run a fan on him. Not cold.
So that's starting to change, and that's changing depending on who you're talking to. So the military with our working dogs, the Europe is on the same page. The only one that's not really on the same page right now is the U.S.
When are
General.
we ever on the same page?
What was that?
When are we ever on the same page?
Yeah, I know.
So what's
So
still
and it's actually on the people side too. So people, it's just get them in cold water, get them in front of a fan, get them in front of the air conditioner, and that's what they're saying as far as our animals as well. There, there's plenty of stuff, and I've definitely gotten bombarded from the ones that aren't in agreement with this, showing me the paper, the research with it. But I've also then turned around and showed them research on the side of what the new guidelines are coming out saying. So I always say know the condition of your dog. So if you have a working dog, sometimes those working dogs, because they're so conditioned, they're like an athlete, they're going to be able to probably handle a little bit more. But if you're out there and you're training and you're using them for sport, then realize what their limits are. So when they're at their peak, that's when I would take the temperature. Working dogs sometimes can come in with 106, 107 degree temperature, and they're not necessarily in heat stroke because they're conditioned. But if I have a pet dog that's more like a couch potato and he's coming in at 106, it's probably more of an emergency than it would be for the working dog. So that's where I kind of go with different guidelines, because of the fact that if I have a couch potato dog, I'm still going to do active cooling, but I might not be as aggressive with that versus a dog that may be in better shape and better condition.
okay? All right. So let's move along. Fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We just had a HOA meeting here in which the HOA allows fireworks. And some of us would like them to not do fireworks, but we were outvoted by those who wanted to do fireworks. One of my dogs is really afraid of fireworks. He's the one that I just dropped $5,000 on the ER visit over this past week. Okay. I really don't want to stress that dog out. So what we'll end up doing is that the day, okay, we'll have the TVs blasting, windows closed, AC on, anything that will muffle any outside noise.
So they do make earmuffs
Nice.
for dogs, and I've had people test them out and they work. They may not look the prettiest, but they work. It's actually worked for their dogs that have been really afraid of fireworks.
Okay. So do you have a brand name?
Not off the top of my head. I can look that up.
Yeah, look it up because I got to do something for Speedy. The other dogs, my other 3 dogs, they're just, it's a noise. I must bark at it, but they're not frightened of it.
Okay.
Whereas Speedy he's terrified.
Well, I know the Rec Specs, they have a pair of earmuffs. Those are really good, and I've actually bought those. Those are used for the working dogs on the shooting range. So those would definitely keep the noise out.
Oh, and you know what? Chewy has them.
Oh yeah?
Yep, $85 on Chewy.
That's not too bad. They're normally, they're pretty expensive, but they work.
Okay, that is good to know.
And then here's the other one. It's called Pawnix, Pawnix. Those are the ones that look kind of funny, but I've seen people try them out and they say that they work.
Okay. All right, you're going to have to spell that again. Hold on again.
Let me know when you're ready.
Go ahead.
Pawnix.
2 words or 1 word?
Just one word.
Next. Let's see. Headphones. Let's see. Oh, I've seen these. All right. Let's see how much they cost. Because if they put a price on here, that'd be really good.
Oh, they don't have a
price. They look like $200. Okay. So there's options. I'm going to have to figure out something before the 4th of July. Okay. Onward to... Okay, let's talk about screen doors. Actually, we're at our halfway mark, so then we got to do our commercial first.
Okay.
Are you tired of putting off your emergency and disaster planning manual? Look no further. This 67-page fillable template will make the process a breeze. Simply fill in the blanks for your business and gain access to checklists for supplies, common hazards, debriefing, evacuation and shelter-in-place protocols, resources, recovery, maintenance, as well as best intake practices. It's time to take action and be prepared. Get your copy today at positiveed.com/books.
Okay, screen doors and screen windows will not contain your pet.
How do you know, Mary?
Well, the reason I know that is because Kira, who was my 135-pound Shepherd Malamute, if the screen door was closed and she wanted to go outside, she'd just walk right through it. I replace that screen door at least once a year. So the point where I had like spare screen, the roll, and the tool to put it into the frame.
Yeah.
So
I just saw a video. There was another dog that saw something outside and it was like it wanted it. Boom, it just went.
yeah. So a screen will not keep your pet inside if that's your intention to keep your pet inside. Right. If they want to get out doing that, especially important, like in grooming shops. Okay. And even as a mobile. So one of my windows on the mobile was a little slider and it had a screen there. Right. It would keep a husky in or a large dog. They might be able to get their head and maybe one paw through. You could ask me how I know that. But that's about it.
So do you want me to ask you?
Ask me.
Explain.
Okay, so Husky on the table sees something outside the window, wants to get it, okay, because, and he got his head and one paw through before I yanked him back in. And then he looked at me like, what?
I will say, knock on wood, I have not had my dogs go through a screen. Well, no, I take that back. Back in Chicago, the screen started ripping, and so they went for it. And so it was just the little corner. And my dogs were small enough at that point in time. And I thought, I'm going to fix that. And then winter came, and I was like, that's great doggy door.
All right. So just keep in mind that's not, the weather is nicer. And in fact, on the doors I have now, and I have smaller dogs, but if they want to go out, especially the larger min pin, he'll just, and then my screen looks terrible. I just leave the doors open. The fenced in yard, they're not going anywhere.
Don't you got a lot of bugs that come into your house then?
No, not really.
Really?
Yeah. get some. Not like when I live, and it might have something to do with the humidity, because when I lived in Connecticut, all I was doing was there was like the death marks on my wall for the bugs that I smashed against the wall.
Yeah.
It's like, this serves as a warning to your friends.
Then they come in swarms to come after you.
Yeah, they're here for the memorial service. All right. Other things. Let's talk about pools. Your pets need a way out of the pool.
And they need to know that they can get out of the pool. You got
They
to
need
show
to know
them.
where it is. Okay. They also make these little sort of like ramps for like local wildlife, like frogs and snakes, that if they get in your pool, they can also get out. So be aware of that. And when it comes to poisoning, there's things, especially now that we're coming into nicer weather. First of all, pool chemicals are toxic.
Yeah, really toxic.
Pesticides and fertilizers are toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even in my garden, where I'm making sure that I'm using like all organic pesticides and fertilizers, they're still pesticides, fertilizers.
Right.
Okay. So I would just make sure I keep things where my pets can't get into it. And I mean, I really learned that lesson again with Kira, because there was like nothing that she couldn't get into, she wanted to get into. In my kitchen cabinet, I had to put it, well, first I tried putting a childproof lock on the outside of the door because, I'm smarter than my dog, right, Kate?
Right.
Okay. And then she would just smack it open, and she would steal the plastic bottles of salad dressing. She would puncture them and suck out all the salad dressing.
Oh no.
It looked like a vampire. When seriously,
Oh my gosh.
puncture holes and totally drained. So
No, that's the first.
yeah, so then I recessed the childproof lock just where I could just stick my fingers in. Okay, and she took a paw and she opened that up really fast. I had to recess the childproof lock so far down that I had to use a wooden spoon to open up the cabinet.
Oh. What a pain.
Oh yeah, she was probably the smartest dog I've ever owned in my life.
What kind of dog was she again?
She was a Shepherd Malamute.
Oh, yeah. I could see that.
Yeah, and we know what her breed was because we got her from somebody who had an oops litter, and mom was the Malamute, and dad could have been either the Rottweiler or the Shepherd.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was the Shepherd.
Yeah. That's where the smarts came in.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I don't know how smart Malamutes are. I know Huskies can be a challenging dog.
Yeah, I don't know Malamutes either as far as
He
personnel.
was just smart. I mean, that could have been all Shepherd. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. My shepherd mix, I could have sworn she was a little human on the inside. She was really smart.
Okay. Anything else we want to discuss about as far as dangers are or to be aware of? Because I mean, if you know what the problems are, or could be problems, and make sure that your pets are safe from them. I'm just going to say, I mean, I literally just dropped, to be more precise, $4,600 at the ER vet over this past weekend.
It doesn't take much. I was in the ER vet last week, and I mean, there wasn't a whole lot that was done, and it was just under $1,200.
Yeah.
Doesn't take much.
It doesn't take much. And Speedy had pancreatitis, so it wasn't heat, wasn't poisoning. She wasn't near any pool, but she still got sick, and off to the ER we go. And that was after dropping 1,500. However, 1,000 of it was for my other dog to get his dental, which we totally almost didn't ignore because of Speedy. So poor Cecil comes home after having a dental, and we're like totally ignoring him. He's like, well, my mouth hurts. Give me drugs. And we're like, we can't deal with you, dude. We got a sick dog here, you know?
Poor thing.
Yeah, poor thing.
Did you make it up to him after?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Or he made sure his needs were met later on. It's like, you will not ignore me.
That's
Where
too
the hell's my brother? All right. So anything else we want to add for the summer?
I would just say, especially one of the things that I see out here a lot, don't be walking your dogs in the height of the heat. And I know a lot of people think they look funny or whatever, but especially out here, you can't go without putting booties on.
Yeah.
Know and check what the temperature of the ground is. I've tried, okay, so, and maybe it doesn't work on humans like it does on dogs, but I was told, that mushers is like a cream that's supposed to help protect their paw pads, right? And I was like, maybe in the wintertime, but I wanted to try it. So I put it on my own feet and I went walking outside and I was like, don't get me wrong, pads are a little bit thicker, but I was like, this isn't, there's no protection at all here. So get your dog used to wearing some booties, and bring water with you if you're going to take your dog out for any reason. I see that a lot out here where people don't have water on them and the dog is, that tongue is down and it's wide and they're hot and they can't cool off. And the other thing too is, think about what you're putting on them. Unfortunately, we have a lot of doggy events that happen this time of year. And so people are bringing their dogs out, and some of these events will do costume contests. And so these dogs are in the heat. Now think about this, even if you're in the Midwest, yeah, you guys don't have 120-degree weather, but there's the humidity that's on top of that. And so do we really want to be putting them in shirts and costumes and stuff that is going to capture the heat in? So I think for the summertime, really, really look at the totality of everything that's going on with your dog and do what you can to try and keep them cool.
Okay. All right. So we'll be back next Monday. Same bat time, same bat channel. If anybody has things they'd like to discuss, because if not, then you're making me and Kate figure out a topic.
We've been doing okay so far.
Yeah, we're doing okay so far. Okay. So we'll see everybody next week.